Everyone, thanks for joining us for our ASISTA orientation webinar, where we're going to talk to you all about some of the services that we offer. And we're also looking for feedback from you all on what else you would like to see from ASISTA. Could we go to the next slide, please, Maria? So for our agenda, we're going to start off with some introductions of the staff here at ASISTA. And all of you can also feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. We'd love to know where you're coming from. Then we're going to dive into some talk on how to access the services that we can provide here at ASISTA. First, we're going to talk about the benefits that OVW grantees can receive.
Hello.
Benefits, that ASISTA members can receive. Then we're going to talk about technical assistance and what we can offer there and how to access technical assistance services. We're going to talk about our listserv and the trainings, which we often call conferences that we offer. Maria's going to take us on a tour of ASISTA's website. We're going to discuss some of the other work that ASISTA does. And then we're going to launch into a discussion with you all about what else you'd like to see from ASISTA. Next slide, please.
Hi. Oh, thanks, Kelly. I just jumped in. My name is Christina Velez. I am the Legal and Policy Director of ASISTA, and I'm here to share some introductions of our team with you all. Let's get started. Next slide. Thanks, Maria. So most of us are here. We are, as you can see, we are a team of 7 that do all of the work that is going to be described to you during this hour and a half. All of our bios are on the website, which Maria will show you how to navigate in a little bit. Our executive director is Kirsten Rambo. Again, I am the legal and policy director, Christina Velez. Maria Lazzarino is our program associate. Wave if you can, Maria. Thank you.
Oh.
That's right.
I'm so sorry. Love seeing your face. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself. Sorry.
I know. Isn't it great? Maria does so much for us here and interfaces with a lot of attendees of our programming and requesters of TA. So yes, we are all big fans of Maria. Our finance and communications manager, Ahlam Musa, is not here with us today, but you will hear from her and receive emails from her most likely in the future. Our senior staff attorney is Rebecca Eisenova. She is here, and you'll hear from her a little bit later. Our staff attorney is Leah Ocasio, who also is here with us, and you'll hear from a little bit later. And once again, Kelly Byrne is our staff attorney who handles most of our OVW facing work. Thank you. Next slide. Back to you, Kelly.
Thanks, Christina. So to start off, we have a poll question. We're wondering, how long have you been receiving services from ASISTA? Less than a year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, or more than 5 years? Okay, so it looks like we have a lot of newcomers. 69% of you have been receiving services from ASISTA for less than 1 year. So welcome, and we're really excited to get to know you all. Next slide. So which ASISTA services or products have you used? And this is one where you can choose multiple answers. So listservs, technical assistance, webinars, in-person or virtual trainings, which we often call conferences, practice advisories, or other services. Okay, so I see that the vast majority of you, 84%, have attended one of our webinars, so that's great. I'm glad to hear folks are using that service. A lot of you also use our listserv, which is also really great. We'll talk a little bit later about the listserv for those of you who haven't used it. Smaller percentage have used our technical assistance, which we often see when we have our webinars. We do evaluations at the end and we ask people if they've requested TA from us. And a lot of people have not. So happy to talk to you about what TA entails. Fewer of you, 42% have used practice advisories. So we'll talk about how to find those on our website. So hopefully they can be of use to you. Fewer of you have attended the in-person or virtual conferences. So thank you all for participating. Next slide, please. I think this is you, Maria.
It is me. Thank you, Kelly. We will start. Let me move my chat a little from here to review the benefits that you have either as an OVW grantee or as an ASISTA member. So you have access to technical assistance. We also call it TA for your immigration cases, including case intervention with USCIS when appropriate. For that, our attorneys will ask you to follow some steps and provide some guidance before they can reach out to USCIS officers. Our expertise is mainly on VAWA, U visas, VAWA cancellation of removal, and related cases such as I-929, followed to joint applications, I-751, applications to remove petition, conditional residence, especially with the domestic violence waiver, adjustment of status, employment authorization under use, under VAWA, or any related cases or derivative cases that you may need help with. Our main expertise is on use and VAWAs. We also do provide TA on traffickings for private members. However, we do recommend you to reach out to CAS as they are the expert on trafficking. For OVW TA, is available for LAV, STOP, and ELSI grantees and sub-grantees for immigration cases that are based on, related to, or arising from domestic violence, dative violence, sexual assault, and or stalking. For the one that you don't know, LAV stands for Legal Assistance for Victim Programs. STOP are those services, training officers, and prosecutors that receive grants under the Formula Grant Program that is awarded to territories and states. And the ELSI grantees are those grantees who receive funds under the Expanding Legal Services Initiative programs. If you are an OVW grantee, we cannot respond to an OVW TA on trafficking unless the trafficking case is based on, related to, or arising from domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, or stalking. And you will have access to our emails later on, and you can reach out to us before accessing to a TA if you have any question about it is okay to submit another TA. Another benefits that you have as OVW grantee or as a private member is to have access to our webinars. We offer free access to webinars and prior webinar recordings. And I would like to explain this well because I'm the one that approves and denies people for webinars. And I know some of you get frustrated when they get a denial, but there is a reason on that. Only members, and we call members to those that have a private or paid membership with us. Only members have free access to ASISTA private webinars and webinar recordings. And only grantees have access to free OVW and webinar recordings. This is not because we are complicated, this is because there are some regulations and rules on program income and DOJ that we do need to respect. However, there are some instances that we do allow OVW grantees to participate in our private webinar, but they do need to pay a webinar fee. Also, we have some other webinars that we call special webinars, which are not open to members, not open to grantees, and everybody has to pay a minimum fee to cover our expenses. OVW TAs and webinars are available to OVW LAV grantees and sub-grantees. ELSI grantees and stop sub-grantees, and also to potential grantees. We will talk a little later about the potential grantees, but for you to learn what is our definition of potential grantees, but OVW TA access is a little more limited for potential grantee than the access to OVW webinars. We also have in-person and virtual training discount. That is, we offer a discounting rate for our private member. This is a member benefit only. A private and virtual training discount that are private funded are open also to grantees, but they do need to pay the fee, which is our lowest fee for a non-profit employee. And then we have the access to the listserv, which is open to all of them, and it's a great way to participate and collaborate with practitioners in the field across the country. Let's keep going. Let's talk a little about neon logins and accounts. ASISTA has a database of CRM that allows us to have individual accounts and group accounts. The individual accounts is the account that each of you should have, and is where your individual records are stored. Webinar participation, conference participation, technical assistance request. You need a login and a password, and it's the account that you need to access to schedule a TA with us. This is also the account where if you are a solo practitioner, you will submit the payment for the membership. Then there are the group account. The group account is the main account of an organization or a law office. There is the account that store all the staff members that are working under the organization on the law office. You need a special or not special, but different credentials, different login and password that the one that you have for your individual account, and is to do group actions. You will do the payment of your law office, of your organization in an organization account, not in your individual account. And I say that because I do receive a lot of emails when staff members try to pay. You cannot pay for a group account or for a group membership in your individual account. You really want to know your login and your password, because that's how you access to TAs. There is a link in there to our section in our website with questions. And if you have any problem, just send me an email. Do not create a login, do not create another account. In order to be able to use your account to submit the question, you also need to have a membership status active, either as a grantee or as a private member. But if you don't have a membership, you can create tons of accounts, but you will not have access to the TA link. So send me an email. I do have access to all accounts logins. I don't have access to passwords. I don't have access to credit card, but I can delete the password if you need, and I can help you. This is a slide that is mainly for you if you have questions how to access your account. And I will show you this during the website tour. You will go to the website. That's our email address. There is a member login on the upper right-hand corner of the website screen. You go there, click there, enter the login and the password. I see that many members and grantees use the email address as a login. I also do that. It's easy to remember, and you can do that. Just keep in mind, if you switch organizations, to either switch your login or to remember that you were using a prior organization email as the login. If you have any problem, you can reset the password, and you can always reach out to me. And there is one more slide. This is how to create an account. Some of you are members, some of you are not. If you want to create an account, you will visit again the website, same place as before. You can go to the member login section, but you will go to the right side to create a login. I will show you later. And if you want to buy a membership or create the account through the membership, You can also do that. I also will show you later. You click create, fill out information, click submit, and you will receive a welcome email that says thank you for submitting, and usually have some links that you can use to access some of our benefits. And I don't know if there is any question about this, but just if you have any question with login with Power, with accessing your benefits, or how to submit a question, reach out to me. My email is in a few places, I think, during the presentation. Now we will jump to the technical assistance. So I think, Kelly, this is for you.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Maria. Do you
I
mind
can go
going
to the next one.
Yeah, thank you. So technical assistance is one of the most important benefits that ASISTA can offer to both members and organizations that receive the type of OVW, Office on Violence Against Women funding that Maria was talking about before. So technical assistance is really individualized assistance on a particular question or a particular case that you have. So an example of a technical assistance request could be, you know, this is my client's criminal history. Do you think that they're inadmissible? Brainstorming solutions or strategies to a thorny issue. Like, you know, I got this terrible request for evidence. How do I respond to it? Some resources. So sometimes we can provide sample responses, sample briefs. Sometimes we can provide citations if, you know, you're having trouble finding a case that's on point, or a regulation or a statute. Reviewing documents. So that doesn't mean that, you know, we'll review like the declaration that you drafted, but it does mean that, you know, if you have a denial decision or an RFE, you can attach it to your technical assistance question, and we can review it and help you figure out, you know, if there's any legal, you know, errors, for example, in that decision that you can respond to. Sometimes we can also do a case intervention. So an intervention is when we contact a Department of Homeland Security component on your behalf. So that could be someone at the Vermont or Nebraska Service Center, could be someone at ICE, or it could be someone at USCIS headquarters. It really depends on the type of case. And what we would do in an intervention really depends on the case. Some examples would be, you know, you've emailed the hotline multiple times, they haven't responded to you. Could be us, you know, asking them to respond to you. If there's a decision that you got that, you know, is very clearly wrong, there's like no real debate about that. Sometimes we can ask them to correct that decision, or take some sort of other action depending on the case. We don't do an intervention all the time. We only do it if you've already taken steps on your own to try to fix the issue. So for example, by emailing the hotline, or writing to the service center if there is no hotline. So for example, to the National Benefits Center. And it's really a case-by-case determination of whether we're going to do an intervention. And that's something that we would discuss in the technical assistance appointment, whether we think an intervention is appropriate in that particular case. Next slide, please. So OVW grantees, Maria was talking a little bit about that earlier. Just to reiterate, LAV is legal assistance for victims. We can assist both grantees and sub-grantees of LAV funding. If you don't know if your organization receives LAV funding, you can ask your finance or your grants person. Stop sub-grantees. So these are people who often state or territorial governments give money to provide victim services. Again, you can ask your finance person, you know, do we have this funding? ELSI grantees is a new initiative from OVW called Expanding Legal Services. And that's for organizations that want to start providing legal services to survivors. So that's a new population that we're able to serve this time around through OVW. Potential grantees. So that's an OVW term. That includes any organization that is eligible to receive either LAV, STOP, or ELSI funding. So that's any nonprofit organization, a university, a government agency or entity, a tribal government, or a state domestic violence or sexual assault coalition. and potential grantees can get OVW TA. But that is only if they, the case is based on, related to, arising from one of these 4 crimes listed here on the slide. So domestic or dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, and they're not already an ASISTA member. So say that you're a nonprofit organization, but you're also an ASISTA member, you would have to request TA through the system that we already have for members. But if you're an organization that would be eligible for OVW funding, but you don't currently actually get it and you're not an ASISTA member, you could contact Maria to request potential grantee TA. But that is available only on a limited basis. We do give priority to the actual grantees. So we do ask that if there's some organizations that are both ASISTA members and OVW grantees. If you're in that category and your case is based on one of these 4 crimes that's listed here, we do ask that you schedule through the OVW TA option. Maria will show you later what that looks like. And that's because that helps us, for funding purposes, keep better track of how many OVW TAs we're doing. Plus, it's really of a benefit to you because we get a lot fewer OVW TA requests than regular requests. So you're likely to get an appointment much faster if you use the OVW option. If you're an ASISTA member and your case is not within one of these, so for example, it's a robbery case, even if you receive OVW funding, that wouldn't be appropriate for OVW TA, and you would have to make the appointment using our regular system. Please, this is a little confusing, I realize, so please feel free to contact me after this webinar. My email's later on in the presentation. If you have questions about whether a particular case is eligible for OVW TA, I'm happy to talk that through with you. I also wanted to let you all know that ASISTA, as part of our training and TA grant, we offer a service called tailored training and technical assistance. So that's for both grantees and potential grantees. And that includes potential grantees who are ASISTA members. We can provide training that's tailored to your organization's needs. And that could be an in-person training, so we would come to your organization, or it could be virtual. And that's completely free to you. And if you would like to request that training, please just feel free to reach out to me after the webinar. We can talk about, your organization's needs and whether in-person or virtual would be more appropriate. I see that someone had messaged me in the chat. Martha, feel free to come off mute, or you can message your question to me or to everyone in the group.
Thank you, Kelly. I work for a legal aid in Florida, and I recently I'm a member and part of the OVW, and I tried to set up a meeting with the individual TA, and I got stopped on the area where the question is if I ask consent to my client. I mean, the question that I had was more procedural, no intended to, for you guys to advocate or help me on a specific case. So there is no client. So just say that you are studying a case for an intake and you want to be ready for that person on the possible advice. So I couldn't find anything on my research, and I decided to see somebody in your organization could help me. So how can I, set up something when there is no an actual case, like I am not intending to discuss a name or just a specific question that I need help with? How can I do that?
So I think that really depends on how your office interprets your confidentiality obligations, and whether your office feels that it's permissible to share information about a potential client or a client, even if it doesn't include their name. So we can't really say exactly what to do in that case. But I really think it depends on your office. But that's in there because sometimes we want folks to be, if it's possible, making sure that clients are okay with having information about them shared with another organization, even if it's not their name. So really great question. I think that's something to discuss with your supervisor, unless there's anyone else at ASISTA who wanted to weigh in on that.
Thank you, Kelly. I will ask. I was just, again, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure if I had to submit a written consent to you guys, if I say yes, and then I had to go back to, so I
Yeah.
was, okay, I see what you mean. I could probably discuss it with my supervisor. So I could just say yes indeed if based on my policies. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't require like a written consent from your client. I mean, that's, if you say that you've gotten that consent, we trust you all to, be telling the truth, but we don't require that written consent. But we do want you all to, be thoughtful about confidentiality.
Thank you.
Sure. Next slide, please. So, how does this, we talked about TA, what it is, but how does it actually work? So the way that we do TA at ASISTA is primarily through a video call appointment system. And the way you do that is, I think Leah is going to talk a little later about how to actually make a TA appointment. But you make the appointment in our system, and then you get a confirmation email with a link to a video call. And the video call is going to be on Google Meet. It's kind of like Zoom, but it's just Google's version of Zoom. And that's an appointment with just you and one of the ASISTA attorneys. If it's an OVW TA appointment, it'll probably be with me. If it's a private member TA, it'll probably be with Leah or Rebecca, who you're going to hear from later. It's a 30-minute appointment where you can discuss your question, and we can discuss strategies, citations, whatever it is that you need from us. And the reason we do video calls is because it makes it a lot easier to in real time, go back and forth and ask questions and make sure that, there's no misunderstanding. Sometimes if things are done over email, it can get really confusing about, what the actual question is. So we found that the system works really well, but we do recognize that there are people who might be unable to use the video call system. So as a reasonable accommodation in those cases, we do allow written technical assistance. You would still schedule an appointment to make a written TA request, but you have to pick a time, but it's not an actual like appointment. Once you make that appointment, we get notified, it gets assessed and assigned to an ASISTA attorney, and then we respond to you via email within 10 days. And again, that is a reasonable accommodation for people who cannot use the video system. Next slide, please. Okay. Again,
This is me, yeah. So I just wanted to touch on that question about, before I dive into this, about confirming like you got consent from your client. I think the language there is specific to like assistance or liaison, liaising with USCIS and other agencies. So obviously you still have your own ethical requirements for confidentiality, but that consent is specifically more geared towards like an eye towards intervention than just discussing the case. But again, agree, want to highlight what Kelly said about internal procedures for protecting client confidentiality. So here, talking about how to actually submit a TA request. So you'll submit it through the online system, not emailing any of us directly. And this is so you can get something scheduled, and it helps us to track the TAs that we're doing. So obviously want to log into your account. And once you do that, on the right side of the screen, there's a what would you like to do link. And you click that to get to the TA appointment system. And then to schedule your TA. When you get to that, and I think the tour that we'll do will show you what that looks like, there will be different options for which kind of appointment you'll be choosing. And you want to select the form that applies to your type of request. So there's emergency TA options, private member groups, individual TAs for private members, and OVW TA options, which include group and individual TA appointments. If you're an OVW grantee and you're doing a follow-up appointment, use the OVW form, whereas private members, there's a specific option to do a follow-up with one of the attorneys. You'll want to select your time zone. Here I want to do flag because it has come up in a more remote world, or as people travel often. Don't forget time zone changes, that if you're scheduling the appointment in Eastern time, but when you get to the appointment date, you'll be in Pacific time. 10 a.m. appointment that you scheduled Eastern time will be a 7 a.m. appointment Pacific time. So you'll just want to be aware of that when you select your time zone for when you're actually going to be attending the appointment. The calendar will show available times based on your time zone. Fill out that form as much as possible, because that helps us prepare for your appointments. And other than group TAs, you can attach any documents that are relevant to your appointment request and then submit it. You will get a confirmation email, and it should also include a copy of your appointment. So if you want to make updates or attach a different document, you should be able to do that through there or your account. And as mentioned earlier, that confirmation email will have that link to join. Generally, that link is through Google Meets, but for group TAs in particular, that would be providing you the Zoom link to attend. Next slide. So one of the, was somebody saying something?
Well, we got all the
so one of the options for TA is emergency TA, and we have this defined very specifically in these 3 categories on the screen. So there has to be an imminent removal, which means removal within 1 month, imminent age out within 3 months, or imminent death within 3 months. The form will ask you which category you fall under and an approximate date. For some of those, there isn't a strict date. Unlike age outs, the age outs are most likely in removal generally, you'll have an idea which date to provide. What's not an emergency is anything outside of these 3 categories. And so here we ask that you try to schedule your TA as soon as possible where you have a case deadline, because those are not emergencies under these guidelines. So if you have an upcoming hearing, a deadline in a case for like an RFE or an I-290B, those would not constitute emergencies. Similarly, the imminent removal does not include where somebody has an outstanding, like an old removal order, and there's no new changes to that. Or there's a possibility their case or request for relief will be denied, leading to a possible notice to appear. And so if you schedule under the emergency TA option and it doesn't fall under these guidelines, or it's unclear that it does, we will cancel that appointment and ask you to reschedule under one of the more appropriate categories. If there are any questions, please feel free to put that in the chat, but for now, I'll pass it back to Kelly.
Thanks so much. So Leah was talking about group TA, and thank you for mentioning, Leah, that unlike regular TA, group TA is conducted over Zoom, not Google Meet. And it'll be really clear when you schedule that that's the way that it's conducted. There is OVW group TA. There's like set dates that we have it scheduled for, which you can see listed here on your screen. Just like regular OVW TA, you have to receive both the right kind of funding and it has to be the right type of case in order to be eligible for OVW group TA. Group TA, just because there could be up to 8 people and there's only 90 minutes, it's best for questions that don't require ASISTA to review a document like an RFE or a denial. That's just because, you won't have as much time for us to discuss your case individually. Plus, it could be a little bit more difficult to, for the other attendees to provide you advice, for example, on a decision they've never seen. Plus, you could run into some confidentiality problems if you're discussing, a specific decision in front of others. So those types of cases, we still recommend that you just schedule an individual appointment. You register through our group TA, through the OVW group TA option, which you'll see when you go to schedule your TA appointment. Once you've done that, you'll receive a confirmation email with, again, the Zoom link. So not Google Meet, but Zoom. And just some upcoming dates that OVW group TA is occurring are April 11th, which hard to believe is kind of around the corner, July 10th, September 10th, and November 12th. One thing to keep in mind, for OVW Group TA, a date won't show up in the TA appointment system if the next TA date is more than 60 days away. So like the April 11th date will show up in our system, but the July 10th date won't until it gets closer to that time. Next slide, please. And I think this is someone else.
Yeah, this is me. Hi, everyone. I'm Becca. So we offer very similar group TA sessions for members too. So if you don't receive OVW funding, or if you do, but you're asking about a case type that's not based on, related to, or arising from domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, then this would be the type of group TA call you could schedule as long as you are an ASISTA member. So as with OVW Group TA, there's limited time available for each question in this setting. And so again, very complex case questions or questions that require document review would not be well suited to the group setting. And they should be reserved for individual TA appointments. So if you were to sign up for a group TA and it appeared that your question was too complex to answer in this setting, then we might request that you reschedule for an individual session. Like Kelly kind of suggested, though, there are certain types of cases that are especially great for group TA too. That's because with group TA, you're not just getting an ASISTA attorney sharing our ideas about your question, but you'd also get your fellow ASISTA members from across the country sharing their thoughts, and they have an immense wealth and variation of experiences. And so if you've got a question, especially like how are people currently doing X process, or what are some ideas for discussion or for strategy for this client, that might be really well suited to group TA because you would be able to get that range of advice from different perspectives to really build a great answer. As before, the method for submitting a TA question, registering for group TA for members, it's through a form in the regular TA appointment system. Currently, we're offering these group TA sessions twice a month, every first and third Wednesday. For these, the time frame is 90 minutes, and we do take a few more attendees than for OVW group calls, so it really is necessary to consider if your question's appropriate for the group and not, too fact intensive or super specific as to apply to only one client, possibly in the whole country. So instead, choose questions you'd like input on from other practitioners or ones that are simple to ask in a few words. Then, as always, and as was already mentioned, you do get a confirmation email about the group TA session you've signed up for, and this email will contain a Zoom link, not a Google Meet link to join. And again, as noted, the current schedule, we're doing these every first and third Wednesday of the month. And if there's a scheduling conflict for the ASISTA staff, we would choose a different day, and that would be noted in the registration system as well. Next slide, please. As Kelly mentioned, we strongly believe that like live TA calls where the question and answer both take place in real time are the best ways to make sure that all questions about a particular scenario get addressed both thoroughly and accurately. Because in a live call, you can clarify facts for the ASISTA attorney that might affect our answer, and the ASISTA attorney can clarify our recommendations if you don't understand it initially, or if you have follow-up questions, or if you think maybe we missed a fact that might be really relevant to the answer. Any of those kinds of things can be fixed and developed in real time. That said, we do still offer written TA, like Kelly said, for limited circumstances, primarily where there is a disability accommodation needed for someone who either cannot hear or cannot share information verbally. So to sign up for this, you follow basically the same steps as for requesting other TA appointments. First, you log into your ASISTA account. On the right, you'll go to, or you'll see a list of what would you like to do, and you would select a TA appointment system. And then as you look at the options, choose the accessibility option link. From there, you can select written TA, and you'll get to choose a time zone and a time, but for this one, it doesn't matter what time you put because you will not actually be having a call at that time. It's just that the system requires that question to be answered. So choose whatever date you want, then fill out the TA intake form. And for written TA questions, it would be important to be extra detailed because there's not going to be any opportunity really to clarify before we read your question and try to start answering it. You'd also want to be sure to attach any applicable documents and then click submit. You'll receive a confirmation email, and on our end, we will assign out your question to one of the attorneys to answer it. And as Kelly mentioned, the time frame for a response is within 10 days. It's not at the time that you have selected while you were making the appointment request or the TA request. Unfortunately, we're not generally able to do significant follow-up exchanges after written TAs. So if you realize that you have more questions or you need a clarification after you receive our written TA response, we may have to ask you to schedule a new TA appointment and either attend a video call if you can, or if you still need an accommodation, then you'd have to probably wait another 10 days for the response. And this delayed back and forth written response time frame is again why we switched to verbal TAs, so that in general you can do all your questions in the same half-hour video call. Are there any questions about written TAs or group TAs? All right, if not, I think I'm passing it back over to Maria.
So yeah, I'll take over the OVW webinars. So like Maria was talking about before, sorry, I'll realize my camera wasn't on. So ASISTA OVW webinars are completely free. Attendance is limited though to organizations that receive OVW LAV, STOP, or ELSI funding, as well as potential grantees. And unlike, it's a little confusing, but unlike TA for potential grantees who are also ASISTA members can attend OVW webinars for free. Organizations that cannot attend OVW webinars, which Maria was talking about earlier, are private law firms, and that's because there's certain rules that we have to follow as part of our OVW funding. So unfortunately, private attorneys at private law firms cannot attend OVW webinars. They're presented through the Zoom webinar platform using services from an organization called TA to TA, who helps out with just exclusively our OVW webinars. They provide the back-end technical support. They often help us find interpretation and live captioning services if those are requested. They also help us handle registration for the webinar. When the registration comes up, TA will ask if you need an accommodation or if you need interpretation. So that's where you'd say, yes, I need an interpreter, or yes, I need live closed captioning. All of our OVW webinars are recorded, and once they're recorded and they go on our website, then they are open to the general public for anybody to view them. But in terms of live attendance, that is limited to the groups that are listed here on this slide. We do about 12 OVW webinars throughout our 3-year grant period. That is subject to change, but that's about how many we do. Generally, we offer CLE credits in the state of Texas, and then there's a certificate of attendance that people can submit on their own behalf upon requesting completion of the webinar. CLE, though, is subject to change. For our internal purposes, sometimes we might decide we might want a more interactive webinar that doesn't really lend itself to the CLE format, but every webinar will say whether there are CLE credits offered. Any questions about OVW webinars? Okay, next slide. So just some past topics to give you an idea of what we're addressing in OVW webinars. We did one during our last grant period on bias, equity, and the impact of anti-Blackness on immigrant survivors. We've discussed representing U visa clients with complex issues. And what we have on deck is in May, we're doing a webinar on Senate Bill 4, the anti-immigrant law that was passed in Texas and right now is on hold in the courts, but that may change. This says June, but actually due to some scheduling issues, might actually be July. We're doing a webinar on victims' rights for immigration practitioners and advocates. And in August, I'm sorry, this is that is a mistake. There is not a policy webinar in August. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, so coming up, SB4 webinar and victims' rights for immigration practitioners. Next slide, please.
I think this is my slide. I will review the private webinars or webinar for paid private members. So private members have the attendance is free and limited to ASISTA private paid members. Non-members can still access the webinar for a fee. Usually we charge $100 per webinar or $150 per agency. An agency is more than one participant. All webinars are presented through GoToWebinar system. They last 1 or 1.5 hours, depending on the content. All private webinars are recorded. Recording are free also for ASISTA members. For now, private members can access the webinar recording through our private YouTube channel, but we are revisiting the idea of having a paywall or only member section in our website. So hopefully there will be an easy way to access prior webinar recordings and the folders. The folders contain all the materials and the link with material links that is presented during the webinar. And if you need any private webinar or folder, you can always reach out to me and I will send you the link. Non-members may purchase webinar recording. That also includes the folder with materials. We have all the online store that contains all webinar recordings and also session and conference recordings. And we also have in the online store t-shirts and other products that you can take a pic if you want to. ASISTA aims to provide ACLE credit per year. We do provide credits in the state of Texas, but we also offer certificate of attendance for other practitioners that want to request credits in their own states. Or for DOJ representatives. I do need to verify attendance, so I really ask you that if you need a certificate of attendance or CLE credits, please register using your full name and get on the webinar with your full name link. Otherwise, it's difficult for me to do that, but we can fix it back and forth with email, but register with your full name. That will be the best way to go. And if you are lucky enough to be an OVW grantee and to also have a private membership, you can participate to both types of webinars, OVW webinars and private webinars. And if you have any question, you can mute yourself or you can put it in the chat. How do you register for a webinar? We send twice a week our ASISTA Connections bi-weekly newsletter. That is the best way where you can find registration links for all our upcoming events. OVW private webinars, special webinars, conferences, and we also have in the communication links to practice advisories or to products that we are sharing with you guys. Call for examples, save the date, and all important information. So before opting out from the list, because I know we send a lot of emails and sometimes people is not so happy about that, but before unsubscribing for those emails, think about maybe rerouting the emails to a folder where you can still access the ASISTA bi-weekly newsletter and have access to all those links. You have also the routes in there. If you want to connect to register for an OVW webinar, you can also visit our website, go to the membership section, the OVW section, and there is another tab that says upcoming OVW events. And for private webinars, you will see, you will go to the ASISTA website, the training tab, the webinar tab, and you will see upcoming member webinars tab. I can also show you this later, and as Kelly put in there, also for OVW, you can go to the TA to TA As Kelly mentioned, they are the one that help us with webinar, and they also help all other grantees with registration. So you can find tons of registration that you can access even if you are not an OVW grantee and participate. And they also have a huge and very important library of products. So any product that we do under OVW, any practice advisory or written material is posted in there, and all other organizations also post there. So you have tons of documentation to check on the TA to TA. All ASISTA sponsored webinars are recorded. So if you miss it, you can still access it. And I do recommend that you register even if you are not so sure that you can participate. But I will register for all free webinars, and you will receive the links, the materials, and the recording. And then you can watch it on your own time. What happens after you register? Registration, as we are saying, is not automatic. It's subject to approval. You will not get a confirmation email right after you register, because we will review the list and we'll make sure that you are in the right place. And we will approve private members or grantees according to the webinar that you are registered for. For private webinars, after you register, you will also have the option to submit a payment. This is an option that is for non-member of all grantees if they want to participate in private webinars. The letter also says member do not need to pay. So if you are a member and your membership is active, just don't pay, wait in there, and you will soon get the approval. For private webinars, you will receive a confirmation email from the NEON system. You will say NEON confirmation email and the name of the webinar. And the registration closes 1 day before the webinar starts. For the OVW webinar, as we say, OVW webinars are presented through Zoom platform. You will receive a Zoom confirmation email. OVW, as Kelly was mentioned, can accommodate a request for interpretation up to 1 week. So if you are planning on watching the webinar and you need any interpretation services or some language, please register as soon as possible to so the TA of TA people can secure interpreters with time. For OVW webinars, we do not handle the registration. TA to TA help us with that. But again, we do review that there are not any private member that cannot participate there. So approval will also take a couple of days. To join the webinar, the links are unique. Either for one or the other webinar, you will receive one link, one registration, one computer. Do not share the link, because if someone else uses your link, you will not be able to join the webinar. If you're planning to watch in a webinar in a conference room setting or with friends, you can still use only one link. Just if you are requesting CLE, please reach out to me and let me know that you're watching in a group and provide the names, or watch it individually, but I do need to have proof of attendance at webinar. All our webinars, OVW webinars and recordings are posted in our website. So even if you cannot attend, you can still access to it from the website. It's free. I will show you where it is. And it also has the link with all material that we shared during the webinar. Both systems are set up to receive more than one confirmation email. Usually when I approve the webinar, 1 day, 24 hours before the webinar starts, and 1 hour before the webinar starts. Make sure that you check your spam folder for the confirmation email. You will also receive an email from me with the materials or the link to join as a reminder, or a link to the folder, so, and a note saying that if you didn't receive the confirmation link, to reach out to me. So let me know WhatsApp so we can track the link and send to you before we start the webinar. And I think I have one more. Oh, now we will go to the listservs. I don't know if anyone has questions about webinars, OVW private webinars. Nope. Okay, we will go to the listserv. So ASISTA has a monitor, 2 listservs, and 1 distribution list. The ASISTA, the ASISTA VAWA update distribution list, as it says, is a list, is a one-way list. Only ASISTA staff can post in there. Is the list that we use to send out news update, invitation to training, to events, call for examples, etc. Replacing what in the past was the VAWA updates at Yahoo group. But only ASISTA staff is a one-way list. Then we have the ASISTA expert listserv. This is a private list, is open to ASISTA private or paid members and OVW grantees. It's for sharing strategies on your cases, and it's designed for experienced practitioners. If you are not a member or not grantee, you cannot be there. It's a listserv 2 ways. Everyone can post and share information. We do have some rules to be in there, so when you request to register, make sure that you do read and understand the rules. This is the email in there, ASISTA expert group at IO, is how you send emails to the group. We ask that please do not use the email, the listserv for easy questions, and to reach out to us through our TA scheduling system if you have basic questions. That's not the intention of our list. And then we have the U-Visa litigation group. It is called the U-Visa, but it's intended for litigation strategies in survivor-based cases, not only just U-Visas. If you are pursuing relief based on VAWA, relief or T-Visa and any litigation action, that's the list where you can use for that. It's not limited to litigation, but it is limited to litigation topics only. We ask that you don't use the list for other type of question that should be posted on the ASISTA expert list. For now, this list is still an open list. Anyone can participate to the list, and this is a Google group. Some of the law offices sometimes have restrictions about being on Google groups. So if you have that problem, reach out to me and we may be able to do something with your personal email or with any other email. And I think I have one more slide. This is how you get linked with the listservs and how you can search on the listservs. I will show you on the mini website tool where is the form that you need to complete to request being on the listservs. You will review and agree the listserv rules, accept the invites. I will include you in the list. You will receive invites. You do need to accept the invites, please, to complete the process. And the invites have kind of an expiration day. If by any chance you're on vacation or you didn't see it, reach out to me. There is no need to recomplete the form. Reach out to me and I will resend you the invite. And if you want to search some information or archives, you can go to any of those addresses and you can find posts from the past. This expert list is what in the past was the expert list and a Yahoo group. So all information that we have from the last 20 years are still in there. We just rename and move system, but you can still have access to the archives folders. And I think we will go to the website unless there is any other question or nope, no questions. Okay, let's try this. If there is any problem with what you see, let me know, please. We will review the membership and the OVW grantees, how to log in, how to access. I think a little on the TA. The resource library, the training, how to register, are what we have a little on our resource library and online stuff. So, see if it works. Everybody sees our website, right? Okay. This is where you will you will go to the login to find your account and to log in our ASISTA. I don't want to do it because it will bring some other accounts, so you can log in here, or you can create an account in here. And you can have this saved, and there is no need for you to remember the password every time. You can also join us. You can also access your account from here if you want to. Okay, this is our web membership section. Who is eligible for membership? All the benefits that we should mention. All this link will redirect to the training or webinar or practice advisory sections in our website. This is where you will see the ASISTA Listserv application form, and you click in there, you complete it, and that's it. I will receive it. These are where you join for a membership, and there are 3 categories: individual memberships, non-profit membership, and law firm. We do allow legal assistants and paralegals be part of the staff members that you have in the organization. So if you want to include them, they can also be there. You can click any one of these and you will have the option. This is because I have an account, so it doesn't want me to create a new one. And if you see, I click the group account and it says non-profit or membership. You can complete all this, and then you will select which of the membership you want to join and click submit. And the system will guide you to add one by one your staff members. There are organizations that have over 100 staff members, and this can be time consuming. So I'm more than happy if you have a big organization, you can send me a PDF or an Excel document or a link, and I will create accounts for all of you. And each of you will receive a confirmation email where you can add the login and the password. If you are an individual user, you can switch there. So any of the 3 boxes that I show will allow you to connect with each other. These are our vision, our programs, our staff, other ways to support ASISTA, volunteer opportunities, so you can go and explore this. We will also post in here what we did in 2023. Some of the staff may have links to other sections of the website. How do you register for events? So we can go to, this is our OVW website section. You have in here the letter that you can communicate with us to provide the information, so I update the system. And if you go a little behind, those are the upcoming webinars. Kelly said that we are, okay, let me go in there. Well, yes, we are planning on switching, this is today, but we are planning on switching the June for the July day. So that's why it is not posted here yet, but you can register in here, and you can also read more information and register, I think, also for here. If you have questions, you can also go to this part of the website, and you will see in here, these YouTube channels contain all the webinar recordings that we did for OVW in the past, and those are the latest graph since 2021, and we will put in there until 2026. I don't want to open because it will open the YouTube channel, but feel free to explore that. There are some resources. There are all the products that we did for OVW. And if you keep scrolling down, you have all the webinars. Many times it has the English language and the Spanish language. Also here you can have access to the entire folder with the link to the materials. So we have tons of webinars. If you want to register for one of our private webinars, you will find them here. Upcoming member webinars. We have the next, this is still the orientation. We have the next private webinar on March 27 on policy updates and immigration survivors. You can register here or from our comms piece. And in here we have our in-person and virtual conference registration. We will be having one on April 24th, 25th with 30 years of agua. You can have more information in here. Our attorneys are still working on gathering some more information for that, but you can see what we will be covering. What else? Let's see. This is our resource library. You can access through the immigration protection. So this is how it is organized. You have the quick links where you click any of these drawings and it will redirect you to the section. You can also go in here and we have the immigration protections, general resources, policy, litigation, FOIA. So I'm the one that posts things on the website on the programmatic side. So if you see anything that is broken, any broken link, let me know. Because sometimes we do link to USCIS or other organization sites, and well, sometimes the links end up broken. So you can also click in there to go faster to the bottom or to the section that you want to explore. News and updates. Most of the time, we will also post any practice advisory or any important communication in our news and updates, and it will also be on the practice advisory sections. You can access them from here. You can also access them from here if you want. What I'm missing, let me show you the online store, and then I can go to the login. So to explore the online store, so the online store is divided on catalogs. You will go by the year with a virtual conference name or by the year with the webinar. So if you miss a webinar on webinar recordings on the 2023, you will go here. Each webinar has a small name, but you can either open it or just put the cursor there and I will see the information, product information, speakers, and I will not buy it because I do have access to it. But if you buy it, you will receive a link. You add it, you will receive a link that will go to your website, to your email. Kelly, Leah, am I missing something in here?
I don't think so. This looks pretty good to me.
Thank you, Maria.
Okay. This is the login. So I will show you this. This is if you want to submit a TA, you will log in your account. This is my personal fake account that I have to test before we make it public. So this is where you will go to schedule a TA appointment. So in this part, you can update the profile when you don't know how to change your email, your address, your login. So you can all do that in here. You can also see, for examples, any event that you want to participate. If you don't remember, this is upcoming events. I do not recommend using that one. Conferences is okay, register for here. The other events is easier in our comms piece. But you can do see prior events that you participated if you want to include them in the DOJ letter of a reference of when you do your resume or something like that. Or if you don't remember, you will have in here all your attendance of webinar. That's why it's also important that you do submit your name and last name correct, because otherwise the system will create a new accounts, and you will maybe have 2 accounts that we need to clean up. So we store all your records on the same accounts. But for TAs, you will do here, TA appointment. You will click on the link to schedule a TA. And those are the appointment option that you will have, the emergency TA, the group TA, the follow-up with Rebecca, the individual TA, the individual TA and follow-up, the follow-up with Leah, the group for private on the first Wednesday, the group for private on the third Wednesday. So if you're doing here, I think you all know, you will choose the date, you will choose the time, you will complete the form. Most of the fields are mandatory. If you click and the system doesn't submit, if you're missing something in here, so complete as much information as you can. This is for us, for tracking, for reporting, to OVW reports, to us, to see what are topics for webinar. When we see TAs coming up on the same topic, we plan also webinars. And you will need to agree and submit it in there. The system does allow you to upload up to 3 files. If you need to submit more files, you can also send it to me, and I will make sure that the attorneys do receive your additional materials. I will close here, and hopefully we are back on the webinar.
I think it's me next, unless there's anything.
Yes. I was bringing my chat up. So I will be talking about what other work ASISTA does.
Yeah, so can we go one more slide,
Sure.
please? Thank you. Perfect. So in addition to training and TA at ASISTA, we actually do a lot of other work as well. So we do a lot of policy work. A lot of that is Christina Vela is our legal policy director who does that. We submit comments to proposed regulations. So for example, for the recent USCIS fee rule that came out, when there was a proposed rule, first ASISTA submitted comments to that proposed rule. And we also submit comments when there's updates to the USCIS policy manual. There are some pretty major updates regarding VAWA in early 2022, and ASISTA sent some comments about that. Also, if there's major updates to USCIS forms, we submit comments on that. We also have occasional meetings with people from DHS and congressional staff to advocate on behalf of immigrant survivors and their representatives. So we have occasional meetings with people from USCIS to submit questions to them that we are seeing from trends and technical assistance or that members have to try to get some clarity around some policy issues for members. We also organize campaigns to address systemic issues, and that's primarily through being part of a group called the Alliance for Immigrant Survivors. That's a policy group with ASISTA, Asian Pacific Institute on Gender-Based Violence, Tahirih Justice Center, Esperanza United. I don't remember if I'm missing anybody, but all of our groups are part of this, are co-chairs of this alliance, and we do a lot of federal, administrative, and legislative advocacy on behalf of immigrant survivors. Most recently, we've been doing a lot of advocacy against some of the attempted asylum changes that the administration has been trying to push, focusing on, the real harm that would be done to immigrant survivors if those were passed. We've also advocated for a law called the WISE Act that would create a lot of improvements to the U-Visa and VAWA processes. And Christina was saying, yeah, sending a link to the AIS website, resources for practitioners. So we do practice advisors and practice pointers. Saw some of those on Maria's website tour. We have some really great ones that Becca wrote recently on I-94 versus 797 expiration dates and which one controls. And also a resource on best ways to reach out to the hotline. And now Leah's going to talk about state and local advocacy.
All right, y'all. So ASISTA has a state and local working group It's open to members, whether you're a private member or OVW grantee, sub-grantee. I know I'm missing a lot of acronyms, but if you were referenced on these slides, you are welcome to join the state and local working group. So what do we do? The mission statement is to advance paths to safety for immigrant survivors through state and local policy, advocacy, and coalition building. And so it's a space where people bring up certain issues that they're seeing and share strategies for addressing those. And so our focus areas have been U-Visa certification policies at the state and local level, including but not limited to certification statutes, either enforcing them where they exist or strengthening them where there are gaps, and also advocating for new statutes in states that don't already have them. Access to aid for non-citizen victims, including health insurance, language access, victim funds, and so on. Discussing any immigration enforcement actions that are occurring, and also state and local legislation, both supporting legislation that is helpful to immigrant survivors, but particularly tracking anti-immigrant legislation to better push back against it. And so if this interests you and you want to join, or if you have any other questions, feel free to email me directly, and that information will be on the last slide.
Thanks, Leah. And then one more thing that we do at ASISTA is litigations. That takes a couple of different forms. We match people who are new to litigation, but who want to, file a case in federal court with mentors, people in our membership network who frequently litigate. We support litigation through amicus briefs. So we had, for example, we signed on to a brief to a case that was just decided, I think today, by the Supreme Court that had some favorable precedent for VAWA cancellation applicants. We also had an amicus brief on a case in the Ninth Circuit about the medical exam requirement for U adjustment of status. And those are just a few examples of our amicus briefs. We also develop affirmative litigation efforts. So we're part of a couple different FOIA litigation cases as a client in an effort to get more information from USCIS on why there were such drastic changes to discretion guidance, especially for U adjustment of status between the end of the Obama administration through the Trump administration and continuing. So those are just some examples of litigation efforts that we've been working on. Next slide. So now we are interested in hearing from you all. Is there anything else that you all would like to see from ASISTA that we're not already doing? And feel free to come off mute or put it in the chat, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Also, while folks are putting things in the chat, so I see the question about how about the U visa cap? Great question. So that law that we've been working on with AIS, the WISE Act, would actually eliminate the U visa cap. We've done a lot to try to get that law introduced and passed. We've secured a sponsor in the House, Representative Pramila Jayapal from Washington State, and also been working to get some co-sponsors. Myself, Christina, and other people from AIS have been having seems like countless meetings with people from Senate staffers and House staffers to try to get more sponsors for that legislation. So we're hoping to be able to, at some point in the future, maybe get that passed to help eliminate the U visa cap. But
I'll pop in here to say also that we are planning a WISE Act webinar hosted by ASISTA, but presented by us along with our AIS colleagues to explain more specifically what the WISE Act would contain, like what are the specific provisions of the WISE Act that might benefit immigrant survivors. And we hope to do that in the month of April. We're looking to secure a firm date, and we'll start sharing that information out. Should be free for everyone to attend. But thanks for asking about that, Carlos. This will be, I think, the third time the WISE Act will be introduced. So we're continuing to push it forward. Yes, and that is one of the key provisions that the WISE Act contains.
Thanks for that plug, Christina. And just reemphasizing what Leah put in the chat about, please feel free if there's any type of training that you would like to see us doing that we're not doing, policy advocacy, written resources too. We're always looking for new ideas for practice advisories and pointers. So anything that you'd like to see, please feel free to add. If you would feel more comfortable sharing with us privately, or if you think of something later on today, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our contact information will be at the end of the webinar. And while folks are thinking about that, I guess we can, I see a question. What about BFDs? Any news on how USCIS is moving through those? Christina, I think you might be a good person to answer that.
I know you were going to ask. No, we have been in continuous contact with our contacts at USCIS about BFD processing. We understand that there was a huge influx of BFDs that were out of order that came in through December, and we're continuing to follow the progression of those related derivative BFDs and EADs. Following those, it does look like the USCIS has reverted back to its first in, first out policy. I think right now, the last I heard, they were at 2016 or 2017. Does that sound right?
For BFDs, I think it's maybe more like 2018 or 2019.
Oh.
Final approval says 2016. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Thanks, Kelly. So yeah, it takes all of us to keep an eye on that. But yeah, we are following up with USCIS about what happened during that influx period, trying to get more information about what it represented as far as BFD processing generally. We are hoping that it will continue to speed up.
And another thing about the WISE Act is that there's a provision in there that requires the issuance of an EAD within 180 days of filing a U visa application. So just keeping that in mind as well.
Correct, exactly. And we also understand that the HART Service Center is continuing to staff up. We're hoping that also makes some of these processing times move a little faster.
Maria, could we go to the next slide just so folks can see? Sorry, one more, please. Thank you. So this is just our contact information. If you have questions about, ASISTA services and benefits, or like Maria said, if you're having problems with the website, feel free to contact her. Her email's up here. Questions, what on earth is this OVWTA? Is this eligible or not? Feel free to email me. My email's here. Again, we ask that you not email us with case-specific questions. The best way to handle those is through our TA appointment system. If you have questions that aren't related to a specific case, policy related, you can email Christina. Related to state and local advocacy, Leah's really our guru for that, so feel free to email her. For sponsorship opportunities, which is a type of financial support you can provide for ASISTA and our work in immigrant survivors, you can contact Ahlam Musa, our finance and communications manager. And then if you just have general questions about ASISTA, you can contact the questions email address. And I see that Leah, thank you, Leah, highlighted there's going to be a HART Service Center engagement on March 27th. That will be right before our webinar on policy updates and immigrant survivors. So you can attend both. Just, if you're ready to be listening to first USCIS and then us, that makes sense. But great plug. Thank you, Leah. And then again for TA, the link to make a TA appointment is here on your screen. And then if you want to join one of those great listservs that Maria was talking about, which is really great. Which is really a great way to get involved with other practitioners and hear get others' perspectives on your practice issues. Feel free to join our listservs by emailing the questions email address. So thank you everybody so much. We have a few more minutes. If you have any last minute questions, happy to stay on until 3:30.
And we are also recording this session, so we'll post it in our website if someone wants to rewatch us again or share with your colleagues. Feel free to do that.
So unless there's any last minute questions, feel free to get them in now. Otherwise, I think we'll end a couple minutes early. And thank you again, everyone, for spending this time with us. And I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.